let's
Mhm.
wait for more people to join.
Sounds good. While we're waiting, if someone wants to introduce themselves and like, just mention if they're a professional or a student or what industry you belong to, just a basic intro about yourself, that would be great. We can
In
then officially
Facebook
get started.
comments.
Yes, in the Facebook comment. Each of the comments would show up on the comment section here, correct?
Okay, so um, they'll appear like a banner here on the
Okay,
screen. If you
got you.
can you see it?
Yep, I can see that we will begin soon. Perfect.
Okay.
Again, just to reiterate, if you're just joining us and you want to introduce yourself, you're a professional, you're a student, what industry you belong to, what you're hoping to get out of the session. It's very hard conducting virtual sessions because you can't see the audience as such. So just make your presence felt.
Wait for 2 to 3 more minutes.
Sure. Hello, I'm a final year student and I will just suggest guide me on which tools framework to I use for the first session. So Fatma, this might be a question for another group, but I mean, PWIC does all kinds of sessions. So this one's mostly dealing about how to negotiate a salary and stuff like that. So the tool frameworks which are preferred in software houses, I mean, just I can just give you a general view. It kind of depends on what you want to do in life, right? Like if you want to be a hardcore software engineer who just wants to program all day and night, I would say Tableau is maybe not the right thing for you. But then if you want to be a data analyst, um, that might be something to consider. So again, I think it's a very broad question. And no judgment, but being in a final year student, I think you should also like limit your scope on what you feel comfortable with, what you like enjoy doing, and then work on from there. So obviously, CS is a broad spectrum. So you need to analyze your niche and then work towards that. Um, but yeah, I don't think we'll be talking about tools and frameworks in this session. But thank you for the
Uh,
comment.
so 10 people are watching. I think let's start.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I am Nishater Razia and I'm currently co-leading Karachi chapter of PWIC. Today we have Umar Abdullah with us for the session on salary negotiation 101. So over to you, Umar Abdullah.
Thank you, Isha. Before I get started, I'd like to thank Isha for convincing me to give this session. So if anything goes wrong, anything gets messed up, you know who to blame. I'd like to thank the PWIC community for having me. The PWIC community is a community that I've followed for a long time. Mosma, who is the president of PWIC, is someone I've contacted multiple times over LinkedIn, and whose simplicity I'm simply blown away by. Farah Tahir, the treasurer, is someone who went to the same university as I did, and from time to time, I see her messages on our WhatsApp group. Sundar Khalid is a work colleague and someone I regularly interact with. I regularly bug her. In fact, for this session too, I conducted a like before the session, I conducted a half an hour session with her, just discussing on the topics with her. She's really an expert. The karate chapter of TWIC is basically all my juniors from my university days, so I feel right at home when I'm invited by TWIC. So just a quick outline of what we'll be doing. We'll have a quick introduction. Then we'll be busting some myths, industry insights. We'll look at some industry insights. Then we'll look at the art of negotiation, question and answer session. This would we're trying to make this an interactive session. So during this time, if there's any questions, any comments, any concerns, just let us know. Each has also will feel free to jump in at any time. And since this is for mostly the Pakistani audience, I will try to make this as bilingual as possible. लेकिन fair warning मेरी बहुत सी उर्दू में गलतियाँ आएंगी. लेकिन let's start off with introduction. So just a quick disclaimer before jumping right in. Everything I speak today is my opinion. Please do not hold my organization or the PWIC community responsible for any slip ups. Furthermore, this is salary negotiation is an important topic, and I don't think 45 minutes will do it justice to it. This is basically just a push in the right direction. None of us should expect, and I don't expect anyone to walk away after 45 minutes and be like, okay, I'm going to negotiate my salary tomorrow with a 100,000 increase or something like that. But I do work with so just to further explain that a bit more, I am currently working with a couple of people from the Silicon Valley to help the tech community in Pakistan, where we are offering mentorship sessions, mock interviews, we work on college and university resumes. We haven't officially launched it, but it's something that would come in the future. So, if there's a question that was left unanswered in today's session, or if there's something you disagree with, you agree with, or you just thought the session was bad altogether, please feel free to message me. I love constructive criticism. So please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm not the biggest fan of introducing myself, and I think this does it more than enough justice. So just a quick outline. I'm based in Waterloo, Canada, but originally from Pakistan, Karachi, and I oscillate between the two cities very frequently. I am currently a big data solutions engineer with Google, and within the realm of Google Cloud, I work on AI, ML, and data analytics technologies. Um, I'm also aware that Pakistan or North America में different hiring techniques है, hiring strategies है, hiring practices है. लेकिन I'm gonna try and make this as generic as possible. मतलब बहुत सी चीजें overlap करती है. We're gonna try to make that as simple as possible. And लेकिन मतलब during my conversation अगर कोई HR बंदा है who knows more than me, or he or she thinks that I'm just spewing utter rubbish, so please feel free pop in the comments below. Say, "Hey Umar, I disagree with this. I agree with this." I'm more than happy to learn and listen. With that, we're getting started. Again, the comment section is available. Feel free to comment throughout the session. Uh, we can get started. So my first question, and because I want to keep this as interactive as possible, is what does negotiation mean to you? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word negotiation? And unlike other speakers, I'm very strict on the interaction part, so I'll just sit here and wait until we get a couple of comments replying. Other speakers might be like, okay, we'll just let this through, but Homeboy doesn't play with dead silence. So if we can get our couple of words on what do you think negotiation means to you, or what do you think when's the first time you hear the word negotiation? I have all the time in the world. So even like a phrase, a word, a sentence, anything could work. Fatma, I think you were the first person who commented, so if you want to be my lifesaver here and get the ball rolling, that'd be great. This is probably how teachers feel when people ask questions and no one responds. So again, if you're just joining us, the question is, what does negotiation mean to you, or what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word negotiation? Um, yeah, finally we got Samid Maiman. I think he deserves a banner on top for getting something started. To get something in interest of yours. Samid with the flying picture says to get something in interest of yours. I guess what he's trying to say is, to receive something which is of interest to you. Saad Ismail says compromising to agree on something. Oh, this is out from class, I know. But compromising to agree on something. So I guess that makes sense. There's a lot of compromise going on. There's a lot of give and take going on. Um, Thank you, Saad, for jumping in. Negotiation using communication to do optimization and using equilibrium report parties have a win-win situation. Imroz Aslam. To reach an agreement where your skills are valued the way they should be. Great. I mean, these are all terrific answers. They're not one-word answers, but they're great answers. And it is that the underlying concept is there's a lot of compromise. Both parties want something. Both parties want to make it a win-win situation. I'll be honest. When I think of negotiations, I don't think of that. I think of these guys and that situation. Does anyone know where these guys are from? The people on the left. Yeah, so like when I mean these are all fancy, great answers, very intellectual answers. When I think of them, when I think of the term negotiation, I think of these guys. So these guys are basically people from Dragon's Den. It's a show similar to Shark Tank. And so what happens here is the basic premise of the show is that you have a bunch of entrepreneurs coming up. They pitch their ideas and they say, hey, we're looking for X amount of money for Y percentage of the company. And then at times there's back and forth where one shark or where one dragon he says no, I'm going to give this much, and the other guy says no, this much. And they happen at times there is what you see where people walk away and they're like, no, the deal isn't good enough, or where you've seen sharks or dragons be like, yep, I think that's a great offer, we're willing to take it, or the negotiation as well, right? So there's a lot of back and forth. Um, and the other picture is obviously something from an action movie where you see a bunch of hostess negotiation where people are talking and trying to reach an agreement. And as unlikely as it may seem, there is a similarity between these and you negotiating with your boss or HR. Um, and there and so what can you think of the similarity between these two pictures and you negotiating with an HR or your boss? I mean, besides the fact that, your HR or your boss may blow up in your face as well, but what else do you think what else do you think is similar about this? I mean, I think we're pressed for time, so maybe I can keep the questions to a minimum. But there's a lot of back and forth. There's certain elements of trust that you need. There's a certain element of leeway that you're willing to give the other person. You're also aware that the other person might possibly walk away, and so you must be ready at all times for what may happen, or if things do not go according to your way. So with the introduction out of the way, अब हम लोग जो है थोड़ी myth busting करेंगे. So myth is basically a common thing that has been perpetrated so much that it's believable. But let's look at a couple of things when it comes to salary negotiation. Why people are hesitant to negotiate, or why people shouldn't negotiate, or why people think they shouldn't negotiate rather. Can anyone quickly give an example of why you don't negotiate, or why you don't think you are eligible to negotiate? So one of the first things that when I talk to people, or when people reach out to me, is like, we're fresh hires. We just graduated from university. We have a hard time getting a job, let alone negotiate a salary. And so that means we shouldn't negotiate salaries. And while that is true to a certain extent, fresh hires do have the tendency to get put in the most effort to get a job. And therefore, so if getting a job is tough, subsequently unfortunately, what follows is that negotiations make it even tougher. But that does not mean at any time that it is impossible. The fact that you're shortlisted, or the fact that companies are looking to you or they've selected you for an interview, highlights the fact that uh, the company is interested in you and are willing to negotiate with you. So yes, it is tough, but by no means impossible. And I think just take the example of your own. If you're a student, take the example, or if you've just recently graduated, take the example of your fellow students, right? All of them graduated with the same degree. Yes, the GPA might have been up and down, but all of them graduated with the same degree at the same time. But everyone doesn't have the same amount of money coming into their bank, right? And so there is something that is sticking out, that is making them gain that edge over you. So yes, fresh hires have no. So the fact that fresh hires have no bargaining power is false. They do. They have a tough time, but that does not mean it's impossible. Imposter syndrome. So some of the answers imposter syndrome. Yes, we will get to that in a bit as well. Thank you for that point. The next reason why people might not be why people might not tend to negotiate is that they think in the back of the mind that companies don't expect you to negotiate and will be offended if you do. Again, this is something you will also look later on in the slide. But basic answer, if you are offered an amount, there is usually some wiggle room. थोड़ी गुंजाइश होती है उस अमाउंट को ऊपर नीचे करने की. तो ऐसा भी नहीं है कि भाई हार्ड एंड फास्ट रिटन इन स्टोन, हमेशा ऐसा नहीं होता. कभी कभी होता भी है कि जो है एक अमाउंट होती है जो फिक्स इन स्टोन हो जाती है, लेकिन दैट इज नॉट ऑलवेज द केस. टू एन अज्यूम कि हमेशा कंपनीज नेगोशिएट नहीं एक्सपेक्ट करती या विल बी ऑफेंडेड इफ यू डू, दैट इज अगेन फॉल्स. Negotiation is based on the amount of increase in your salary. हाँ, so what basically this means is कि अगर आपने if you were offered 60,000 or you had it increased to 70,000, you might think that is successful, ना कि भाई मैंने अपना 10,000 का benefit कर दिया, that is successful. और दूसरे बंदे ने हमने सिर्फ 5,000 का किया, so he's not as successful. लेकिन that might not always be the case, right? Or it might not even be a good thing. For example, अगर उस बंदे ने 80 to 85 किया और आपने 60 to 70 किया, even though आपका negotiation ज़्यादा सही है, like you negotiated a higher amount, that does not necessarily mean कि आपकी बेहतर you are more successful. So average salaries, variety of factors come into play. जो कि मैं अभी बहुत I don't want to get ahead of myself. लेकिन yes, so negotiation is not just based on the amount of salary you negotiate. You do not deserve an increase in salary. This is what I think Osama was implying as well, imposter syndrome as well. You think you're a fraud, you're not eligible, you're not good enough, and this is more of a psychological issue than anything else, right? The issue of low self-esteem and self-worth is commonplace, right? I mean, I've been in my position 2 years, and every day I learn something new, or I feel like I don't deserve to be here. So imposter syndrome is very real, and it happens to it isn't restricted to, oh, okay, by 5 saal baad you won't have imposter syndrome. Yeah, you don't think after X amount of years, yeah, X amount of experience, it's something that is commonplace. It is. We will agree with it. And but that does not mean that you do not deserve an increase in salary, right? And while it is okay कि आप appreciative हो कि हाँ भैया मेरे मैनेजर ने मेरा इतना increase किया, मेरे HR ने इतना काम किया, इतनी tough economy में उन्होंने ये किया, that's great, right? You're being appreciative of the fact कि भाई बंदे ने मुझे help out किया. और एक पाकिस्तानी की मेंटालिटी थी कि हमें वी डोंट वांट टू अपीयर नाशुक्र, राइट? कि भाई मुझे इतना मिल रहे थे, मैंने इतनी नेगोशिएट कर दिया, तो दिस इज शोइंग माय नाशुक्री की, या इट इज शोइंग माय ग्रीडीनेस. लेकिन again, and this is something we will deal with later on, but it is important कि आप realize करें आपकी self worth कितनी है and not sell yourself short, right? So don't nashukri and being grateful, that's all well and good, but also recognize what your self worth is. You should wait for the right moment. मतलब हम लोग का अक्सर ये होता है ना, we put this off कि भाई अब सही moment आएगा, सही time जब आएगा, फिर भाई करेगा, फिर भी करेगा, वो करेगा. लेकिन and that is again true to a certain extent कि आपको अपने recruiter या HR manager को रात सुबह के 3 बजे कॉल करके नहीं कहना चाहिए कि भाई मैं जो हूँ अपनी सैलरी इंक्रीज करना चाह रहा हूँ, या आई वांट टू रीनेगोशिएट माय टर्म्स. दैट ठीक है, वो सही है, देयर इज अ टाइम एंड प्लेस फॉर एवरीथिंग. लेकिन डोंट वेट टू लॉन्ग फॉर द परफेक्ट मोमेंट कि भाई जब तो दिन के 16 डिग्रीज हो रहे होंगे, सारे फैसल नहीं जैम होगी और बारिश हो रही होगी और बिजली नहीं गई हुई होगी और फिर मैनेजर अपना कॉफी पीते हुए आएगा, फिर मैं उसके पास अप्रोच करूंगा, लाइक गेट आउट ऑफ द फैंटेसी कि भाई एवरीथिंग विल वर्क आउट अकॉर्डिंगली। जो मोमेंट हो उसका बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी यूज करके ले, सो डोंट वेट अंटिल इट्स टू लॉन्ग, योर ऑल द ब्लॉक्स fall into fall into form a perfect pyramid, right? जहाँ टाइम मिले आप करें. Do you agree with the perception that if someone manages to get higher than usual salary or higher end salary due to experience, and it would reduce their job security due to being expensive? Whew, mouthful of questions. Um, let's get back to that. Lekin the short answer is no, I don't think so. If you can prove, for example, अगर एक बंदा 60, question basically ये करे कि भाई अगर एक बंदा 60,000 है और एक और बंदा है वो 80,000 मांग रहा है, क्या उस 80,000 वाले बंदे की जॉब सिक्योरिटी इन लाइन है? क्योंकि जाहिर सी बात है, इज कॉस्टिंग द कंपनी मोर, इज कॉस्टिंग द कंपनी 20,000 रुपीज या डॉलर्स एक्स्ट्रा. लेकिन आई वुड से नो, क्योंकि इफ यू कैन प्रूव दैट यूर वर्थ दैट 20,000, देन यूर फाइन, राइट? मतलब यूर शोइंग योर वर्थ. हाँ, अगर आपकी 80,000 सैलरी है और आप भाई 60,000 वाला या 40,000 वाले बंदे का काम कर रहे हैं, देन योर जॉब इज इन डेंजर, राइट? क्योंकि फ्रॉम अ कंपनी, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड फ्रॉम अ कंपनी परस्पेक्टिव कि वो देखेंगे कि भाई एक ही काम अगर 40,000 में हो सकता है, एक ही काम अगर सेम काम 80,000 में हो सकता है, तो ऑब्वियसली लॉजिकली वी गोना गो विद द 80,000 वन. लेकिन इफ यू आर गेटिंग अप टू स्पीड एंड डूइंग दैट 80,000 वर्क, कोई और बंदा ये नहीं कहेगा कि भाई दो लोग हायर कर लें 40,000 से और एक या 50,000 को, और वो 80,000 वाले बंदे को नहीं. इफ यू शोइंग योर स्किल्स, यू शोइंग योर कैपेबिलिटीज, देन आई थिंक यूर फाइन. यू डोंट नीड टू वरी अबाउट जॉब सिक्योरिटी. एक और myth होता है कि when it comes to salary negotiation, it's all about what you say. It is about what you say, but it's not all about what you say. So there's a difference, right? What you say is important, but how you say it is equally as important. How you show it as equally important. So when you talk about what you say, जब हम लोग कह रहे हैं कि भाई क्या बोलना चाहिए, we're basically referring to things like, you know, what you're worth, what you're asking, what you bring to the table. When we're talking about कि किस तरीके से बोलना है, it basically refers to your attitude, आपकी personality, आपका confidence. These things are half the battle, if not the full battle. These things are half the battle. So you need both. We are running a bit back on time, so let's get started onto the industry insights. So these are industry insights that I've gathered over the years, and the point of these is just to show you what you're up against. These figures are from North America, I will admit. लेकिन पाकिस्तान का भी थोड़ा, just give it a 10 थोड़ा percentage. This will just show you the trend. पाकिस्तान का मैंने थोड़ा बहुत सर्च करने की कोशिश किया था, लेकिन there's a lot of issues that come into play. कितना accurate होता है, कितना ये. So these are from Forbes and I think Robert Half, which is a consultancy agency. And these are some facts I want to throw at you. So quick question: what percentage of managers do you think are willing to negotiate? Like when they give you an offer, कितने percentage of managers ये सोचते हैं यार अगर इसने जो है या expect करते हैं कि भाई मैंने एक बंदे को ऑफर दी, अब ये renegotiate करेगा. जस्ट जल्दी जल्दी अगर आप लोग एक फिगर थ्रो आउट कर दे, कितने परसेंट ऑफ पीपल डू यू थिंक एक्चुअली negotiate, कितने परसेंटेज ऑफ मैनेजर्स ये सोचते हैं कि भाई अब कैंडिडेट हमसे negotiate करेगा? कितने परसेंट? 10, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70? So in the interest of time, I will move ahead. So 70% of managers expect a salary and benefit negotiation, which means that out of 100 people, 70 managers ये expect करते हैं कि भाई इसमें थोड़ी wiggle room होगी, थोड़ा बंदा हमारे पास will reach out back to me and renegotiate on that. So 70% of managers have that expectation. Um, how many percentages of people actually try to negotiate a salary is almost half of that, which is 39%. So 70% expect 70% of managers expect that bhai, candidate negotiate karega. Only 39% do. And within the 39%, do you think women negotiate more or men negotiate more? I mean, the answer is pretty simple because this is a few session. Lekin 46% of men negotiate versus 34% of women. Versus 34% of women. So women again predominantly, I apologize for this. So 46% of men negotiate their salaries, and for women it is 36%. And so as a result, men are offered higher salaries than women 60% of the time for the same job. And so yeah, without getting too much into the technicalities, why this? So let's look at the problem statement here and why this is a big issue, right? Let's go back to what we talked about. So managers expect majority of managers expect candidates to negotiate 70%, right? Majority of candidates do not negotiate. Women negotiate lesser than men, and men are offered higher salaries. And so all of this breeds or leads to inequality or pay gap or however you would want to present yourself, right? So for the same job, women are getting paid less than men, which women and men for jobs women and men are equally able to do. And a big factor is this, right? There's no negotiation. Managers are expecting you to negotiate. You don't negotiate. Women negotiate even lesser than, so out of the people that do negotiate, women negotiate less. And then men are offered higher salaries. So does anyone see what the problem is, right? And then the statement would obviously be, how do we negotiate? So let's go to the art of negotiation, which sounds like a cheesy title of a book, but let's go. Um, so one statement that I think has been circulating in LinkedIn for the past couple of days, and something which I picked up along the way, is it's very profound, and that's something I want to share with you. Right? It's a bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not in the branch but in its own wings. Until you spread your wings, you have no idea how high and far you can fly. So this is mostly about self-reliance or believing not in external factors कि भाई कंपनी वाले क्या कह देंगे या मुझे फायर हो जाऊंगा अगर मैं निगोशिएट करूंगा. इट्स मोर अबाउट कि भाई अगर आपकी सेल्फ वर्थ इतनी है या अगर आप बिलीव इतनी करते हैं कि भाई अगर मैं इतना वैल्यूबल प्लेयर हूँ या मेरे पास इतनी इंडस्ट्री इंसाइट है कि अगर कल को खुदा न खास्ता कुछ हुआ भी तो आई हैव दीज थिंग्स लाइंड अप या देयर वुड बी नो प्रॉब्लम फॉर मी. एंड अल्टीमेटली मतलब without getting too philosophical, man is only responsible for the effort he puts in, right? So yes, there might be cases where you are a double PhD student and you're working at a fast food restaurant versus a guy who is the CEO of a company and he's a college dropout, right? So we're not talking about different extreme cases or but this is the general cases. But again, yes, so we put in the effort and then we hope for the best. You know, you prepare for the worst, you hope for the best. So yes, so your trust should not be on the organization you are in, but rather your own skill set. So how to negotiate, right? And the first thing that you need to understand is that you need to know your value. This is one of the most important, and I would say the foundational thing. This is this is the basic thing on which all other insights or skills are built on, right? And that is basically know कि आपकी कितनी value, आपकी कितनी अहमियत है, right? और आपकी कितनी अहमियत है कंपनी के लिए और आपकी कितनी वैल्यू है कंपनी के लिए, राइट? तो पहली चीज बिफोर यू इवन थिंक अबाउट नेगोशिएटिंग इज व्हाट आर यू वर्थ. अपने ये सोचे, राइट? जस्ट थिंक अबाउट दैट कि अगर कल को कंपनी को नया बंदा हायर करना पड़े, हाउ लॉन्ग वुड इट टेक फॉर देम टू गेट ऑन बोर्ड. What are the values that you bring to you bring to your organization that no one else does, right? So you can consider a range of things इसमें जब है. सारी सिर्फ वो नहीं होता कि भाई आप एट द एंड ऑफ द डे कितने बग फिक्स करते हैं या आपने कितने जो है इश्यूज है, ये नहीं होता, राइट? यू कंसिडर योर करंट एक्सपीरियंस, यू कंसिडर योर रिलेटेड एक्सपीरियंस, अपनी स्किल्स देखते हैं, लीडरशिप एबिलिटीज देखते हैं, एजुकेशन क्या आती है, आपकी करंट सैलरी क्या आती है, right? ये हर चीज एड अप होकर ये आपकी वैल्यू बताती है. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड हर बंदे के लिए जाहिर सी बात है ये डिफरेंट होगी, लेकिन इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू रियलाइज दैट एंड परसीव दैट दिस इज योर स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट. क्योंकि कल को आपको पता चले ओ मतलब मेरी वैल्यू ठीक है इतनी है जितनी कंपनी पे कर रही है, देन डू यू एक्चुअली हैव एनी room to negotiate, right? So yes, that's something to consider. Be aware of the industry. Again, this is a follow up from the previous point, but once you've determined how much you're worth, let's say you're worth X game, X amount of dollars, X amount of rupees, अब आप start करें comparison game, right? कि ये position, इतना साल के experience, इतनी साल की knowledge, इतना साल का ये एक और कंपनी में कितनी वर्थ है, मार्केट क्या है, राइट? लुक इस स्पेसिफिक रोल के लिए कितनी मार्केट है, कितनी मेरी अहमियत है दूसरे इंडस्ट्रीज में. So this will again, this is the second step of that decision, and this will help you make an informed decision later on. Have an alternate offer. This is again, I think, a very key core fundamental. North America में ये कहते हैं it's not always necessary and it's a good thing to have. लेकिन पाकिस्तान में, having seen the Pakistan market up close, I would say this is one of the essential things that you can do, right? Knowing कि आपके पास एक alternate offer है will help you negotiate more effectively. So let's say you're earning 60,000, आपको एक और offer आई है 80,000 की, not same company obviously, लेकिन same role, same position, same perks, etc., etc. लेकिन you like this place better. Now you have an incentive to renegotiate the salary. You can be like, भाई 60,000 आप मुझे देते हैं, I'm getting a competing offer from 80,000. What can you do about it? Or let's talk about this. Or why it's important to have an alternate offer is not just because of this baseline, लेकिन आपका एक automatically एक कॉन्फिडेंस आता है, कहते भाई क्या होगा, ज्यादा से ज्यादा एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे ना, ज्यादा से ज्यादा मुझे निकाल देंगे, मेरे पास एक और ऑलरेडी ऑफर है. तो यू हैव दिस नथिंग टू लूज एटीट्यूड, और ऑटोमेटिकली आपको कॉन्फिडेंस देता है, ऑटोमेटिकली मेक्स योर केस स्ट्रॉन्गर, or it also gives you a safety net should something go wrong drastically. It gives you that safety net. Give a range. Again, this is also a question कि लोग पूछते हैं कि भाई should we give an exact. So basic rule of thumb when you're negotiating a salary, try and get the other person to make the offer first, right? Just to understand what they value it as, आपकी company का क्या वो मतलब how the company values you, what the range is. So kind of let them try and negotiate and let them give you the first offer. लेकिन काफी केसेस में I know especially in Pakistan ये possible नहीं होता, right? They're like नहीं आपकी expectations क्या, आप बताएं आप कितना expect कर रहे हैं. And so in that case the general rule of thumb is कि give a range. And so range के साथ is that you have a low range, you have a low point and a high point, right? So whatever point you're minimum ready for, give that as the low point, which makes sense. Lekin sometimes people don't. So let's say you've decided कि भाई मैं जो हूँ 65,000 रुपीज से कम या 65,000 से कम नहीं accept करने के लिए तैयार हूँ, और रिक्रूटर ने पूछा कि भाई आपकी रेंज क्या है, and you say 60 to 70 because you're thinking oh 70 तक मुझे मिल जाएगी. लेकिन because you said 60 to 70, theoretically because you said 60, you should be okay to accept that 60 value क्योंकि आपने खुद दिया है. अगर आपको 65 मिनिमम थी जो आप नहीं एग्री कर रहे थे, so you should accept that, right? 65 to 75, that's what I'm looking for. So you've already set your minimum, you set your maximum. अगर 65 से कम, अगर 65 से ज्यादा मिली, well and good. लेकिन if not, you're at least meeting your basic threshold. Finally, know the exact number. So this sounds counterintuitive क्योंकि एक साइड पे मैंने आपको बोला है कि एक रेंज है, but on the other hand I'm saying कि know the exact number. So the difference being that you are giving a range and you're knowing the exact number. So don't propagate the exact number. If you think 65,475 is what you're worth, sure, that's great. Know that value. Okay, when you're negotiating, you've already given the range. So when you're negotiating, make sure it's more or at least equal to that. So basically, you know what your exact number is in terms of monetary value. But when you're giving something, you're giving a range. And again, this ensures that you're aware of the industry and everything, all those great things we talked about earlier. Show what you bring to the table. So when you're negotiating, one of the best things is you don't actions speak louder than words, right? You don't say, oh, I'm a great leader, I'm a great listener, I'm a hard worker. No, show what you've brought. So for example, if you've closed 100 bugs in 1 hour, like or you've resolved customer issues on a 10x impact, right? Show those figures, show those things, right? Show your performance. Okay, bhai, मैंने over the years ये किया, over the months ये किया. Bring what you've accomplished. Bring instances of where you've gone above and beyond to the table. So एक point तो मैंने बता दिया, this is related to your performance. Other than your performance, all your other things, when you're coming to the table to negotiate it, all your other things shine out. So for example, if you're a likable person, your leadership qualities, your commitment, your loyalty to the companies, when you're coming onto the table, all of those things should shine through. And if you want, we can go into a detailed look of how these things happen, but I don't think time is on our side. But these are all things that should shine through when you are sitting at the table. Um, Consider the whole deal when it comes to, so this basically means कि पूरा package को understand करें. At the end of the day, खाली ये नहीं होता कि भाई आपके PKR कितने deposited है into your bank account. Things like job satisfaction भी आपको वो करता है कि भाई are you actually enjoying what you're doing? आवर्स फ्लेक्सिबल आवर्स हैं या नहीं है, लेट सिटिंग्स हैं या नहीं है. um, एंड तो इन चीज़ों के लिए आपको सिर्फ ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप सिर्फ सैलरी या बॉटम फाइनेंशियल बॉटम लाइन आप निगोशिएट करें. आप यू कैन निगोशिएट कि भाई ठीक है, आई एम विलिंग टू स्टे एट द कंपनी बट और आई एम विलिंग टू स्टे एट द कंपनी लेकिन आई वांट मोर लीडरशिप रोल्स, आई वांट वर्क फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, आई वांट support for continued education, I want more opportunities to grow, I want to lead a team, um, I want so things like that, right? Matlab, consider the whole deal. Matlab, where will this company take you in the next 5 years or 10 years, if you want to think long term, or what other incentives this company can give you. So just again, just want to reiterate, it's not all about कि भाई at the end of the day कितने पैसे आपके बैंक अकाउंट में आ रहे हैं. Don't rush to accept the offer. So right, so this is something I've seen Pakistan में especially बहुत होता है कि भाई आपकी ये ऑफर मिली है और आप 2 घंटे में साइन कर दें या आप 2 दिन में साइन कर दें. If you get offered something and you're not 100% sure, take the time to get a second opinion. Let them know कि भाई ठीक है आपने मुझे इतना का टाइम दिया, that's not feasible for me, I want this much days. Normally ये होना नहीं चाहिए क्योंकि if you're going into a negotiation table, you've already set your BATNA and you know what you will accept and what you won't accept. And I just realized that I've used the term which a lot of you might not be aware of, which is BATNA, which is what is your best alternative to negotiated agreement. Funnily enough, ये एक मूवी से देखा था. लेकिन what this basically इस टर्म का बेसिकली बैठने का क्या मतलब होता है कि what happens when negotiations go south. मतलब मैंने एक ऑफर दी, आपने काउंटर ऑफर दी और parties cannot reach an agreement. What happens then? और what is the threshold limit जिसके बाद आप कहते हैं भाई अगर ये चीजें नहीं मैच हुई, आई एम वॉकिंग अवे. अगेन अगर आप देखें this ties into the initial slides we talked about, right? कि भाई know your worth. या हमने वो hostage negotiation की बात की, right? कि ऐसे कौन से सिचुएशन होते हैं where you like ठीक है भाई इसके बाद that is my threshold limit, खत्म, इसके बाद मैं नहीं कर दूंगा, negotiations break down. So you must be, वैसे तो you should go to a negotiation table fully prepared, but if not then you should have your BATNA ready कि भाई um, I've done my research, I know what I'm worth, I know what my value is. um, my BATNA is कि भाई अगर मुझे X amount of चीजें नहीं मिली, I'm walking away from the table, I'm not interested in the offer, and be prepared to do that. Avoid ultimatums. No one, especially पाकिस्तान में किसी को वो नहीं धमकियां पसंद नहीं है. Or even in a professional relationship, right? आपको ये नहीं चाहते कि relationship sour होए, whether it be with an HR, a manager, a company, a work colleague. Not only क्योंकि लोग कहते हैं कि भाई future में कौन किसके काम आएगी सब, लेकिन not only that, but you want to leave on a good terms, right? Because that's what a decent human being does. You don't want to go swearing at your manager or your coworker or saying, I never want to talk to you again, or, I hope you step on a Lego or something like that, right? You want to leave on a good term, or you want to try and leave on a good term. Obviously, I understand there are situations where this is not possible, but you never know what will happen in the future. So try and leave on a good term. And so, just on a subtle note, while it is important, like I said, to avoid ultimatums, sometimes they might be necessary, and that is when we go back to our previous slide, and that is when just a reminder, know what your BATNA is. Once you know what your BATNA is, then it makes more sense for avoiding ultimatums and how long or how much how much you're willing to lose. Practice. This is the final point I see, which encompasses a lot of other things, right? Make sure you practice this. This isn't your linear algebra course where you walk into the examination और आप सोचते हैं भाई अल्लाह मालिक है मैं wing करूंगा. Besides the point कि बहुत से ऐसे लोग हैं, you actually prepare for your linear algebra exam or you flunk the course. That's besides the point. But practice makes perfect of what is practice, right? So you want to walk in, everything ready, everything understood, everything fully trained. And so how does that work? So make sure when you practice, you make sure you're fully prepared. Let's say a couple of practical key points, right? Make sure you have a list of what things you will say and what order. say भाई मैंने ये मेरा गोल आज मैनेजर से बात कर रहा हूँ, मेरा गोल ये है कि मैं उसको बताऊंगा मुझे इतनी अमाउंट ऑफ सैलरी चाहिए, या मैं एचआर से बात कर रही हूँ, मुझे चाहिए कि इतनी अमाउंट है, और मैं ये करना चाहती हूँ इस वजह से और मैं ये वरना मेरा ये है फाइनल गोल. तो मतलब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ थॉट इट्स सुपर इम्पोर्टेंट कि मैं किस क्या चीज़ बोलूँगी, किस या क्या चीज़ बोलूँगा, किस ऑर्डर में, किस फॉलो थ्रू में। प्रैक्टिस की एक और बात कि इफ यू कैन फाइंड समवन टू प्रैक्टिस विद यू, राइट, गिव हिम कि भाई इमेजिन करो कि वो आपका मैनेजर है, उससे नेगोशिएट करो, लेट द अदर पर्सन बी टफ ऑन यू, क्योंकि जाहिर सी बात है देयर विल बी पुश बैक, राइट। आप ये नहीं कह सकते आप 40,000 कमाते, आप कहते हैं भाई मुझे 140,000 चाहिए अगले महीने तक, नहीं, तो ऑब्वियसली देयर इज गोना बी पुश बैक। So practice again. If you can find someone just do आपके साथ कर सके, do it in front of a mirror. It's all about how you present yourself, how your confidence shines through. इसको कहते हैं इस चीज को कहते हैं brag list, just which is basically a one pager, just which highlights everything जो आपने किया है above and beyond your job expectations. So for example, अगर आपने एक कॉलीग को मेंटर किया है, दैट वाजंट पार्ट ऑफ योर जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन, लेकिन यू ब्रॉट हिम अप टू स्पीड, और आपके कॉलीग ने बोला हाँ यार उमर वाज एन अमेजिंग इंडिविजुअल, उसने हेल्प आउट की, ब्ला 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 एक्सेट्रा, so make sure you have all everything you've achieved that is above and beyond your JD, your job description, or which will help you make a case for you. Make sure you have that on a piece of paper, because ये आपको नहीं होना चाहिए कि आप बोले भाई I want a $30,000 increase and your manager goes okay what for, or why do you think you deserve this, and then you just blank out, you know, क्योंकि मैंने एक टीवी का सेशन देखा था, उसने बोला था कि you should negotiate इसलिए मैं कर रहा हूँ. You don't want to come to that stage, right? You want to be concrete and you want to have evidence. Recruiters से बात करें, talk to recruiters, talk to HR people, okay, what's in these days, right? What the value is these days, what is the value these days, what is the market value these days. um, don't overkill a situation. अगर if you feel कि भैया मैनेजर के साथ negotiate कर रहे हैं या HR के साथ negotiate कर रहे हैं and there's pushback, don't drag it out for an hour कि भाई चलता रहेगा चलता रहेगा, इवेंचुअली लोग फ्रस्ट्रेट होकर गिवन करने कहते हैं भाई हमारा, क्योंकि उनका भी बैठना होता है, राइट? तो इवन यू हैव अ बैठना एंड दे हैव अ बैठना, तो उनका शायद बैठना हो कि भाई आधे घंटे के बाद मैं उस बंदे से बात करना छोड़ दूंगा, आने तो आओ, नहीं आने नहीं, हमारे नहीं, राइट? तो अगर if it's with your manager, then find a better moment to do it. हो सकता है you know he's just having a bad day, to just wrap it up and be like, hey, can we revisit this next week or something like that. um, Finally, don't lose perspective, और इसका मतलब है कि don't be greedy, but know your worth, right? मतलब पूरा overall situation को देखो, सिर्फ ये नहीं, even if you don't get that negotiation, right? If you made improvements and if you work towards being a better negotiator, that is something to take forward. एक और बात, when it comes to don't lose perspective, again these were all points, um, जो again जैसे मैंने पहले शुरू में मेंशन किया, these are basic outlines to get you started, right? All of these things come with practice. हम and so don't expect कि भाई मैंने अपने 40 minutes में अब जो है हर चीज प्रिपेयर कर दिया, या I will give you a script जिसमें जो है, sorry, if you follow that to the core, आपकी जो है अगले दिन सैलरी इंक्रीज हो जाएगी. I want to leave some marks for questions, so we will deal with the closing remarks. I just wanted to thank the PV community again for having me, Isha for being a wonderful host, for managing all the technical issues. Um, the whole PV community, just want to reiterate, कि भाई, if you want to reach out to me separately or if anything was unclear, please do. I'm like I mentioned, I'm based in Waterloo, like, and we're working with the Silicon Valley, people from the Silicon Valley, to form a tech community in Pakistan, or to help out. We offer mentorship sessions, mock interviews. We actually help you. We do a one-on-one where people act like managers, and then we try to negotiate. So we also do practical application. It's not much, and we haven't officially launched, but alhamdulillah, we're making progress. And we've signed up individuals from Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, MIT, Caltech, Stanford, people like that. But yeah, I mean, that's besides the point. If you want to contact me, since it's wedding season in Pakistan, the best way to do is to reach out to me and invite me for your cousin's wedding. And then as we eat through the free food, we can talk about as long as you want. However, since that might not be possible for everyone, please feel free to add me on my LinkedIn, send me a DM on Instagram. That concludes my session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If anyone has any questions or something, we can definitely take a couple before we wrap up. If we have time, Lisa, do we have time?
But
No, we don't.
we can do Q&A. for five
Yes.
minutes, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So
our
if
wrap
anyone
up
has any,
party is at 9:15, so we can take questions. If
perfect. So I wrapped it up on 9 o'clock on the dot. So we can definitely do it. Wait, my question is there room for further negotiation? So is there room for further negotiation if you sold yourself short earlier and they met your previous expectations? Again, Osama, I think you kind of answered your own question. You've kind of shown, you sold yourself short, and now is there a way to come back? Maybe there is, right? Maybe and it all begins with how you frame it, right? If you talked and you said you're willing to accept 60,000, and the HR person said, okay, that's great, Osama. We can move on, and you move on to the final stage until you're with the CEO, and you're like, well, maybe I can negotiate back. Is that really the time and place for it? I mean, that's something you want to think to yourself. Maybe that is. Maybe you can be like, I forgot to mention in addition to doing these things, I can also do these things. I can mentor people. I can conduct sessions. I can take on this whole project by myself, and therefore I think I could be worth a bit more. But I mean, generally, unless you have these great things that you can talk about, um, maybe you're better off. And again, this is my personal opinion, but maybe you're better off working for 3 months, showing you're actually worth more than you can, more than they're paying you, and then bringing that up with your manager. You don't have to wait until Pakistan में क्या कहते हैं? Like I know here it's called perf review. पाकिस्तान में क्या कहते हैं जिसमें सर आपकी सैलरी निगोशिएट होती है और वो एवरी ईयर जो होती है um,
yearly bonus,
हाँ ईयरली जो आपका रिव्यू होता है
yearly review, yeah.
ईयरली रिव्यू होता है ऑडिट होता है संचार जो भी होता है there's a word for it लेकिन you don't have to wait until the end of the year to prove that right अगर आप 3 months में प्रूव कर सकते हैं then go ahead and do it show it. So yes, just to answer the question, is there room for further negotiation? There is, but then you need to pick your battles. You need to do time and place. अब ये नहीं कह सकते आपने 60,000 पे एग्री कर दिया और फिर अचानक जब हर चीज हो गई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट आ गया you're like नहीं अब मुझे 125,000 चाहिए जो भी वगैरह right. There is room but make sure you're picking your battles.
Any other questions?
Okay, that's all right. I will be online for a bit longer, so if anyone has questions, I could probably reply privately. Otherwise, um, my details are here. Again, just want to thank the PV community for having me, Isha for being a wonderful host, Mosma for the presidency. I mean, the whole PV community is a fantastic work, and I hope you guys have continued success. And if there's anything I can do, guys, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. I think let's end the broadcast. So,
Thank you, Mom.
thank you. So I'm ending the broadcast. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Umar Abdullah. Okay. So, Nafis.
After